Pillars of Eternity is a real-time strategy role-playing game released back in March 2015. It's one of the best games ever crowdfunded by a Kickstarter campaign. It starts, as all good RPGs do, on a character creation screen, and I hope you're in a decisive mood because there's a lot of choices to make there. You've got the normal choices of gender and race, and then there's sub-race and body build, and it doesn't even stop there. Next is class. You have a choice of 13 Dungeons & Dragons inspired classes from melee to range to support. Be careful of the casters, as while they may pack a punch, they really cannot take one. Then you have a class specific choice. For priests it's the deity they worship, druids can choose their druid form, and hunters their pet, and so on. Then you get to distribute your talent points under some fairly standard options such as intellect and might, and then move on to choosing some class abilities. You also get to choose your culture and background, which further alters your stats. Then you can choose the main and sub-colour for your character's armour, and finally one of about 6 different voices per gender. Phew, done. That's a lot of choices. You start as part of a caravan party heading for the Gilded Vale, camping outside some rather ominous looking ruins. The storyline is mainly conveyed through text rather than cutscenes, so you better put those reading glasses on. Thankfully though, a lot of the main options are voice acted as well, particularly when it comes to dialogue with your main companions. Things inevitably go bad, forcing you and a few survivors to flee into the ruins, chased by some sort of magical storm. Exploration is very much key in this game. The dungeon maps are expansive and hide a lot of juicy loot ready for the picking. To further increase your chances of finding hidden loot, there is a stealth option as well, which reveals hidden caches and waiting traps, as well as allowing you to scout for enemies ahead. On exiting the ruins, you stumble upon a bizarre ritual, which in turn teaches you another of the game's aspects, which is that your companions can die, and that dead really does mean dead. Levelling up works about the same as in many other RPGs. You can distribute newly acquired talent points across about 5 options, which relates to stealth, picklocking and survival and such. However, it's not the same selection as you had when you first created your character. You can also choose some new skills. Finally, you'll reach the Gilded Vale, where the locals have a funny custom of decorating their Christmas tree with dead bodies. Well, to each their own, I guess. It's here you'll meet your first companion, a very squishable wizard, who it quickly becomes apparent has a rather amusing problem. It seems that Eterntiy, multiple personality disorder, has a different name, but very similar symptoms. Dialogue in the game frequently comes with choices, with which you can alter certain events and even trigger conflict or avoid it. Just don't leave the talking to the elf. A short way into the game you'll unlock your stronghold. This can be renovated and upgraded, giving you access to stronger recruits and to resting bonuses when you stay for the night in your stronghold's inn. Upgrades generally cost money and then take game time to build, and there's also an optional dungeon there if you fancy a challenge. You can have a maximum of 6 members in your team at any one time. Any who aren't in your party will wait for you at your stronghold, where they'll also be available to send off on minor adventures to net you more money and gear. There are 8 main companions in the game, who will be encountered in the areas you visit as you progress through the game. It's possible to miss some of them if you fail to interact with them, but they will always be there should you return to look for them. The main companions have their own backstories and quest lines, as well as their own voice acting. As in games like Dragon Age, they'll have conversations between themselves while you're travelling and exploring, some of which are really quite amusing. You can also recruit custom adventurers from inns and your stronghold, but these won't add much to the game's storyline, so I wouldn't suggest filling your team with custom characters. The combat in the game, even on the easiest setting, is pretty unforgiving. You'll need to be ready to throw in healing spells, but if you make good use of the pause game function, then it's not so bad. Overall, this is a fantastic game. It's well designed and implemented, and will give you a lot of game for your money. If you like real-time strategy games and you haven't given it a look, then it might be well worth doing.